Hello and welcome. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, another day of a lot going on. I want to get you up to speed on where we are in the world of electric vehicles, Tesla, Master Plan Part 3, Elon Musk, so on and so forth. Every single freaking day, there's something going on. So let me go ahead and get you started and also share my thoughts on some of these things as well. And I forgot to do my cursor. And now that I have my cursor selected, which is going to be the battery today, let's start with the CNBC article by Michael Wayland, published by CNBC just a few minutes ago, actually, about half an hour ago. Ford halts production and shipments of its electric F-150 Lightning due to potential battery issues. Ford Motor has paused production and shipments of its electric F-150 Lightning pickup due to a potential battery issue. The EV truck is being closely watched by investors, and it's the first mainstream electric pickup truck on the market and a major launch for Ford. The production halt adds to ongoing execution issues detailed to investors earlier this month by Ford CEO Jim Farley. Obviously, this is not the best news for Ford investors or people that are fans of the Ford F-150 Lightning. However, Ford is quite early in production, so if there is an issue and they do have to make a recall or have to make some fixes, there's not a lot of trucks being affected, and obviously Ford is a big company that should be able to process this and fix this relatively quickly. If I use the new Bing, which I got access to a couple of days ago, and I do just a quick search of what was the total sales of the Ford F-150 Lightning in 2022, according to the web, the total sales of F-150 Lightning in 2022 were about 15,000 units. This was the first year of production for the all-electric pickup truck. So if Ford does have to go out there and, say, recall all 15,000 units back, it's not going to be a huge issue. But I do expect there to be a recall. I don't think this story breaks unless there's something big going on. Saying that there's a potential battery issue, to me, sounds like there probably is a battery issue, unfortunately. But if there isn't, great. That's fantastic. But it's rare that something like this breaks and there isn't some sort of recall that's announced afterwards. Plus, this really highlights just how much attention there is around the EV world that an article like this breaks. And there's going to be a lot of interest around it because the electric vehicle market's being followed very, very closely. On different news, but I really want to cover this one as well. Elon Musk on Twitter yesterday, he said that this is the highest Q1 Twitter usage ever. And that is after most fake accounts have been suspended. And so one of the things that has been part of the Tesla story is that Elon Musk is going to be very busy getting Twitter back to a place where, I don't know if it was ever profitable, but to a place where it's actually financially okay. And it's going to be able to generate a profit. Of course, if this were to actually happen, this means that Twitter is trending towards profitability, which over time, this means less burden on Elon Musk. So if you're a Tesla investor who's worried about his involvement with Twitter and where Twitter is going, either as a distraction or taking away mental capacity, the fact that this tweet was sent out yesterday should sort of make some people a little bit sleepy, a little bit easier at night, as long as this is true. But Elon Musk typically is quite on point, always late, but usually correct. Now, along the same lines of Elon Musk potentially being distracted with Elon and him being stretched thin with Twitter and all these things, a very interesting comment was made by Hiromi Mizuno. I hope I pronounce your name correctly, sir. If you're watching this video for whatever reason, I'm sure you're very busy. He's a board member for Tesla, and he's actually speaking at a convention that Elon Musk is going to be speaking at later this week. And so I want to play this video for you guys so you can hear what he has to say, and there's some interesting commentary there. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
As we prepare to hear from Elon later on in the week, I just wanted to get your take on what's happening over at Tesla. Obviously, a business that's faced significant challenges in its scale up, particularly when it comes to production, intensifying competition, not to mention other issues like regulation, for example, in the markets that you sell into and operate in. Critics would also say that Elon, in a way, is also facing additional pressure because he's stretched. People say that he's distracted. How do you react to that? How do you respond to that? And how is he doing?
It's really a question whether he's a human or alien, but he seems to have an incredible bandwidth of his work. So I just commented, you can ask him directly. But one of the things I just wanted to mention is like Tesla has been pushing the regulator very hard. And then we got a lot of pushback. And some of our approach has not been very conventional, so we create a lot of debate and controversy. But I think it's also reflect that the urge we are feeling, so we don't care about the competition really, because we are basically competing against the internal combustion engines. So we just need to, we have like another 80+% of the global car sales are still not EV. So we are kind of competing against them. So we welcome all the competitors to come in to introduce our cars. And I disagree whenever Elon says, I don't mind the Tesla getting, getting into bankruptcy if somebody else come up with a better car, which I disagree. But I think that's the kind of like, his philosophy and Tesla's philosophy. We really wanted to shift the whole system of the transportation to sustainable, the energy system.
So as a board, you don't think he's too stretched?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Interesting, right? It's a little bit of interesting commentary at the end, but I do think there's a few points here that we can highlight from this commentary from Hiromi Mizuno at the World Government Forum this year. Again, Elon Musk is going to be visiting this forum later this week, and this video you can find on CNBC International's YouTube channel. If you're enjoying this video so far, I would love it if you throw me a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this to more people. Thank you so much. So obviously the first takeaway that we can get from this board member is that there's a belief, not just with him, but from the entire company, that more competition is good. They frame their competition, their real true competition, truly as gas cars, not electric vehicles. And one of the common sort of narratives and the rhetoric that comes from the other side of the Tesla story is that, hey, Tesla is going to have a lot of competition coming. You look out, they're going to be in trouble. Ford, GM, BYD, everybody else is going to come after them. It's going to be bad for them, and they don't want that. On the opposite, it seems like Tesla, again, has reiterated multiple times that they're okay with competition. And one interesting thing to keep in mind is that Tesla has reached this state in the car market and really their development as a business without real true competition. And they've been able to really create a lot of separation between themselves and the rest of the car market. This is without a competitor. Imagine if Tesla actually had a competitor, if they actually had a business sort of nipping at their heels, being like, hey, I'm coming for you, I'm coming for you. I feel like this would add an additional fire that has never existed for Tesla before to their already insane pace, right? So this could only be good for Tesla, and ultimately it's great for the consumer. It's good for us to be able to have potentially a variety of different options that we can leverage as EV buyers down the road, or whatever else Tesla and other companies are willing to offer. So the fact that a board member is speaking in this way towards competition, I believe it's a huge positive for the company and for any investor that's following this story. The second one, towards the end there, is Elon stretched thin. Sort of the question was asked twice, and the board member said that he was not going to comment on that, you should ask Elon. I'm not going to talk about it. Sometimes I feel like when somebody says that, it's a confirmation of what the question is saying. But again, it does appear that this individual board member at least has a lot of faith in Elon and the way he's running the company. There's a lot of faith in how he's sort of doing things. Obviously, some disagreement around the extreme nature of how Elon approaches some of the ways that he wants to tackle what the company is facing. For example, during that conversation, he said that, if there's a competitor, the board member said if Elon said that if there's a competitor that's better than them, then Tesla deserves to go bankrupt. And of course, the board member said, I don't agree with that. So there's obviously, they don't agree on everything, but there does seem to be a lot of faith in the individual. However, there might also be a little bit here where some board members might feel like Elon has a lot going on. But again, I'm going to defer to what the board member said, which is I'm not going to comment on that. I will allow you to ask Elon this question. So just interesting verbiage. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot more from Elon Musk later this week once he attends this forum, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. And I'll be covering that on this channel, obviously, as well. Along similar lines, thinking about the future of the company, Elon Musk put out a tweet yesterday again, looking forward to Tesla Investor Day on March 1. By this, we mean the broadest definition of investor as in the people and life of Earth. It will be a message of good hope and positivity for the future. And what's interesting here is that Elon, the verbiage around investor that he's using here is different than the usual sort of definition you hear for investor, which is somebody that buys property, buys stock, uses money to sort of, in the hopes that it grows over time on something that they believe in or something that they think they can get a lot of value out of. But within this context, Elon is saying in the broadest definition, as in the people and life of Earth. So this is an investment into the future of humanity. And so I think what's interesting is that the Investor Day has been reframed not around just the investing community, quote unquote, people that invest in Tesla stock, but really the people of Earth. Like, how can we invest in our future together? And so the messaging here is quite powerful. And I think it lends itself to a lot of different takes. Here's sort of what goes through my mind. And I love to hear your takes in the comments below on what you think this tweet actually means, because I think this could mean something. It's a global mission. I think it's a reinforcement that, from the very beginning of Tesla's creation, their mission statement to advance the advent of sustainable transport, having worked at the freaking company, this thing is like drilled into my head. I can't get it. I sleep just, saying that thing over and over again. But again, it's a restatement of this. And I think Investor Day is going to recapture the imagination around that topic and how we can move the planet towards that future, but how can maybe we can involve the people, right? How can the people become investors of that future as well, not just the small individuals potentially that just work at Tesla? How can all of us be involved in that mission? That's some of the verbiage I'm getting out of that tweet. How will this affect developing nations? And this is something I've been thinking about a lot as you kind of go down the cost curve of innovation and batteries become cheaper, EVs become cheaper, all these different things. What does this mean for developing nations? So countries in Africa, countries in Asia, countries in South America, countries in many different parts of the world where they are starting to go up the economic ladder, where they could really take advantage of a lot of the technologies that Tesla's working on, like the battery storage, solar panels, electric vehicles. These are things that could allow a lot of these countries to sort of skip a generation or two of development that the rest of the world has gone through with, say, the grid or power generation using oil and coal. Can they just skip that altogether and go straight to batteries and solar? And then obviously plug in with EVs. You don't have to invest in growing out this gas infrastructure to power gas cars. You can skip that altogether. Just like how in a lot of the rural places, when the cell phone came out, they didn't have to build landlines. They just went straight to the cell phone. So could something very similar happen with electric vehicles and battery storage? And is this how sort of the framing is going to be for Investor Day? It's one of my thoughts, and I'm going to continue thinking about this. As they again go down that cost curve, this implies that Tesla is going to have a product or a variety of products that are going to have the lowest cost possible for that category, not just EVs, but battery storage and solar. And again, if you're a developing nation, this should help you tremendously in really growing your economy and adopting a new technology, allowing you to skip multiple generations of build out and getting your grid up to speed or whatever else you need to do. So again, another advantage for Tesla. How can they just become a true mass market company that's going to help move the majority of the world towards what that new technology is? Extremely exciting to think about, right? Because Tesla is really the only one that's going to have the supply chain as it stands today to really ride that cost lower, that cost curve lower, excuse me. And then if you look at the distribution of wealth of the entire planet, this means that there is potentially billions of customers out there for you for Tesla and whatever other company that decides to go down this path of the next generation technology, where they can start taking advantage of these new products that allow them, again, to skip those multiple generations of build out. And if we look at a chart that was generated by this new Bing thing that I've been playing around with and see where really the wealth of the globe is, if you look at the number of people that have less than $10,000 of wealth in the world, it's about 2.8 billion people, and between 10,000 to 100,000 is 1.7 billion people. If you add these numbers up, it's about 5.2 billion, which means that there is another 2.7 billion people that still don't have any wealth. They have zero money tied to their name, which this data means that there's basically 6 to 7 billion people out there that could benefit tremendously from having access to extremely low cost energy and extremely low cost transportation. both of which can be provided with an electric vehicle as we write the cost curve down, as well as a battery storage and solar, again, as we write that cost curve down, completely bypassing the build out of these different grids and other things that these countries would have to do over time to really catch up. So it really highlights the scale that is needed here to move the world towards this sustainable future, the sustainable transport, and really getting the entire human population to the next generation technology of energy generation storage and using it to move ourselves around. And we're not even talking about full self-driving or anything. So I think this really truly does highlight just how massive, how big I believe Tesla's mission is going to be into the coming decade into. And I really think Master Plan Part 3 is going to encapsulate this sort of verbiage and rhetoric. There's 8 billion people in the world. A huge majority of them can't quite really easily afford transportation and energy. And so how can we get it to a point where they can? Because it could be, hey, we're Tesla and we feel like we have the supply chain and the ability to really get those costs down to allow all these people to take advantage of this technology and finally move ourselves into what should be the 21st century for everybody, not just developed nations, but for everybody. I really hope that's the messaging, because that's where the true opportunity is for Tesla super long term. I don't even know why that's there. Check this out. Oops, we'll leave it in there anyway. And lastly, I want to wrap up with this article that was written by Riyado Sofyan on Seeking Alpha. I encourage you to go read the article, but it's yet another person in the community of investing that's starting to wake up to the long-term potential of Tesla. The headline is Tesla Master Plan 3 and the Road to $10 trillion market cap. And really the summary around this article is that Tesla had a master plan part 1, part 2, and each time the company unveiled their master plans, the market cap and the valuation of those companies exploded subsequent to the release of those plans as they became true and as they were fulfilled slowly but surely. And the thought process here is that Master Plan Part 3 is set to be revealed on March 1st, laying the plan towards a $10 trillion market cap. Again, not financial advice. I'm sure his is not financial advice either, but I do encourage you to go check out this article on Seeking Alpha. I'll put an article, a link for that in the description as well, of yet another way of thinking about Tesla's long-term future and how their scale long-term could really just blow people's minds. And as we get closer to Investor Day, I get more and more excited about what those plans actually are going to be. But do let me know in the comments what you think about all these developments. Do you think that Tesla is really going to focus on that global addressable market come Master Plan Part 3 with the scale of batteries and EVs? Of course, this is going to take years and potentially decades to play out. But do you think that's going to be the verbiage around the Master Plan? And if not, I would love to hear your thoughts around what it could be. And I also love to hear your thoughts about anything else that was covered on this video. I think there's just a lot going on in the Tesla world that's important to keep track of, not just as an investor, but as a fan of the technology and where we could be in the future. Now, if you'd like to support the channel by becoming a Patreon or joining right through YouTube, you can do that by clicking on join right below this video or clicking on the Patreon link in the description below, which will give you access to our private Discord where me and my community hang out and we talk about just awesome things in the future, not just Tesla, but anything else that could really change the future. There's been a lot of discussions around AI lately, especially with ChatGPT and this Bing thing now. It's just absolutely nuts. Completely crazy. So if you want to support the channel and get those perks as well, consider becoming a patron or joining right through YouTube. If you want to support the channel by purchasing some merch, just like the shirt I'm wearing right now, check it out. Link for that in the description as well, right through my website. And I also have a coupon code for Athletic Greens, which is a supplement that I use every single morning. And I've loved for a really long time. My wife and I both take it. And it's honestly made us feel better. So if you would like to try that out, I have a link for that in the description below. Okay, everybody. We'll see you around. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.